Sue Turton is live for us in Kiev. We can join her now. Sue, so another building has been taken over. Protesters no doubt seeing this as yet another success against the government.
Yes, it seems to be almost a nightly occurrence now. We're hearing just last night, Sunday night, they were heading up this street behind me towards the Justice Ministry, and they have now occupied that government building. And what they seems to be is their modus operandi, if you like. Instead of the clashes on Parliament Street, a few hundred metres from me up here, they decided to try and grow the area that they occupy in the centre of the city. And the Justice Ministry really being at the heart of government, and the reaction from the government has been swift and quite severe. The Justice Minister, Olena Lukash, has come out saying that if they don't return control of this building back to the Justice Ministry, she will be calling on the National Security Council to call for a state of emergency. Now, I'm told that requires then the President to call Parliament, get them to vote on that, and then he will appear on television warning people if they don't pull out, then they will use whatever means necessary to clear that building. Although he could well just ignore that step and immediately decide to call a state of emergency. That would really change the situation on the ground at the moment. But the protesters are saying they don't care. They're going to keep the occupation of that building, and we could well be seeing more buildings occupied in the coming days.
You know, so it's easy to think that the unrest is just limited to the capital, but it's also growing outside of Kiev, isn't it?
It is, and I think that's come at quite a shock to the President and to the government. Indeed, one of the presidential advisors was telling me a couple of days ago that they were very surprised to hear that all these different areas were falling. If we have a look at the map of Ukraine, you can see vast swathes of the west, the regional administrative buildings there have been occupied by protesters, and indeed one area to the east of the capital, Kiev, Poltava, has also been taken over by the protesters, occupying the central building, basically taking control of those administrative areas. On the flip side of it, there are a number of different regions to the east of Kiev, and one down south of Crimea and another way out to the west, where there have been pro-government demonstrations. But really the bulk of the real protest seems to be anti-government. And indeed on Sunday night, yet another province saw protests and clashes between protesters. It was in Dnipropetrovsk, which is about 400 kilometers southeast of the capital, and indeed Yulia Tymoshenko's birthplace. Obviously the former Prime Minister, who's been incarcerated for the past 2 years and is kind of the poster girl really of this revolution. So you can see, we're seeing every night again yet another province reacting to what's going on in Kiev, and all of that unrest is feeding into Independence Square, the edge of which I'm standing here now. The people here putting up with such difficult conditions for this protest, working very hard really to try and keep warm, chopping wood absolutely everywhere in this square, food being given out everywhere, people really working very hard to keep the protest going, to keep the momentum going. But the news of all those different regions and the protesters in different pockets of the country joining this revolution, really bolstering morale, I suppose, in Independence Square.
All right, Sue, thank you very much for that. Sue Turton there live for us from a -12 degrees Celsius Kiev.